Let's move on with the next panel. The panelists are taking their seat. The panel is called Moving Fast in the European Streaming Ecosystem, and we're going to discuss the questions of all questions. For example, could fast channels, we're all talking about fast channels, just be a hype? We're going to look at the United States and the developments in Europe and compare them. We're going to discuss the question of how can content owners harness fast potential, of course monetization opportunities, and then we're not far away from advertising, the advertising market, revenues and monetization, innovations made possible by fast and advertising opportunities. And I'd like to introduce the speakers. We've got Ronnie Luzzi, CEO of Relax.tv in the corner. Applause for Ronnie. In the middle, we've got Florian Moritz, Director, Product and Partner Management of Goldbach. Applause for Florian. And right next to me, while I'm coming down, is Patrick Hurl, Managing Director of Authentic. Welcome, Patrick. Now, when I was looking at the panel, I was thinking, well, we're in Berlin, this is Germany, and we've got 3 German speakers, so let's have the panel in German language. So, jetzt machen wir es auf Deutsch. No, we won't, because it's an international panel, but they're all from different countries. So, as always, you have to look close. It's not just staying at the surface. Ronnie is from Switzerland, Florian is from Austria, and Patrick is from Germany. So this is a truly...
Even Bavaria.
Even Bavaria. See, it's not Germany, it's Bavaria. We have to be careful with that one. It's in the south part of Germany, and I'm from there as well. So we've got strong Bavarian corner here. And this is a truly international DACH panel, as we say, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Let's first of all introduce the companies, because I think in the case of Authentic, lots of people know the brands you're working for, but not so much Authentic, the company behind them. But you're very active both in the classic linear channel field and in the fast channel environment, and that truly on an international scale. Patrick, a couple of words on Authentic.
Very quickly, Authentic is a factual content company. We do everything from developing, producing, international distribution of factual content, documentaries, some people say. And we've been in the channel business since 15 years. 15 years ago, we started our first pay TV channels, and in the meantime, we are in every channel business you can imagine, including fast. We have fast channels, 5 fast channels that we all launched this year.
Those fast channels are across the world, or
we have 2. We're trying to see what sticks with the audience. We have 2 channels which are specifically targeting the German-speaking market, with German brands, like Spiegel, very popular brand. And we have 3 channels which are global propositions.
Okay, so both active on the German-speaking and the international scale. Florian, you're from Goldbach. A couple of words on Goldbach, Goldbach Austria in that case.
Yeah, Goldbach is actually a Swiss-based company with a strong footprint in the DACH or GSA areas. And we are an advertising sales house, actually. So what we do, we sell ad inventory to the advertising market in various media. So in Austria, we do this in digital out-of-home, so placing advertising on digital out-of-home screens. Secondly, we also do a lot of advertising sales on the classical online display and in-stream video section. And third, and which is actually part of this panel today, is linear TV as well as advanced TV, fast TV, CT, whatever you want to name it. This is also where we are very strong in Austria, selling advertising space for various publishing partners.
So you're making sure the content, the great content that's out there is actually being monetized?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're in a commercial world and this is about making money. Ronnie, you're from Relax.tv, but you're also from Foxum, so you're kind of active in 2 parts of the market. Maybe a couple of words on your 2 footprints.
Yes, thank you, Jan. I'm CEO of Relax.tv and Foxum. Foxum is an independent operating system. Relax.tv an AVOD fast service. We're based in Germany. We just recently merged our efforts with a Singaporean-based company, Season, which is great for us because with them together makes us the biggest independent OS provider with access to roughly 95 million devices. And we can deeply integrate Relax.tv on all of these devices and monetize or monetize for the content world.
Also about monetization, here we go.
Yeah.
We've got a similarity here. Let's stick with you, Patrick. You're from the content side of things. Of course, having just launched fast channels in various markets, well, how would you describe the current competitive environment in the AVOD and fast markets in Europe? At which stage are we, especially when looking at developed markets like the US?
Yeah, I would like the European fast market to be so easy as the US market is. Easy because it's just one language region. And if you look at Europe, you have so many different languages and you have so many different environments in terms of how many channels are already available to people free to air or in a way that they don't have to pay for. So the conditions are different from country to country in Europe, and it's therefore much more complex to conquer that continent if you want. However, this is the time to get into that market because we know how sometimes things are moving and some other times they become very static. So experience in our field just leads us to believe that this is a good time to start your own channels. And it's not just about making money, of course it is, but at this point in time, it's first to gather experience where we can make money because it's early in the game and it's not a situation where we grow rich by just launching a new fast channel.
So you're coming from the classic linear world with established and well-known German brands. You mentioned Spiegel. What are your first experiences in the new field of fast? Patrick, maybe a first couple of conclusions.
We love the fact that we finally have a pretty good grip on what people are actually doing, who's using the service, who's watching what, for how long. This is in a market like the German market that has been notoriously bad when it comes to producing consumer data, television, research data. That is a good thing. The not so easy thing is to figure out how to manage those channels technically in a cost-efficient way. We have to try to keep our cost base down, of course, and you have so many middlemen at the moment who are charging you for software elements, for access to market, and for particular technical services that you depend on. You have to produce a lot of metadata that you did not need for the old media. So it's not that easy to get established on fast, but it's wonderful to have such a direct relationship with the viewers.
I think that's one of the key points, also what differentiates probably fast from other methods of reaching the consumer. You've got a direct connection to the viewer. Florian, what are your experiences with the European market regarding fast and AVOD? Is that already a mature market, and what are the challenges, especially regarding advertising sales?
I would say it's far away from being a mature market yet. So it's very dynamic and it's changing. Actually, every quarter you have a different situation. So what we see is in the TV itself, the linear TV is kind of stagnating. I mean, this is nothing new, to be honest. This has been a little while ago already. There was some kind of intermezzo when we had this COVID pandemic, when TV audiences increased again for obvious reasons, because people were a lot of home.
People had time
to watch TV. But since this crisis has gone away, luckily. So the linear TV consumption is stagnating, and having said that, the audience is getting older and older. So the, so to say, advertising relevant audience is 18 to 49. So myself, there shouldn't be any advertising for myself because I'm 49 plus, not 89, 49 plus. So obviously, the audience has changed. There's a big shift on the audiences from linear TV to fast TV, CTV, advanced TV, or whatever you call it. The tricky thing about it is In linear TV, there have been measuring methods for decades. Everybody is actually advertising currency. Everybody relies on it. Everybody knows how to work with. There is nothing like this in the fast TV or in the CTV business. So you can measure ad impressions, you can measure ad requests, but nobody ever tells publicly how many ad requests there are. So I know how many ad requests we get from our publishers because they tell us, obviously, because otherwise we cannot monetize this inventory. But we don't know about all the others. We don't know about Join, we don't know about RTL Plus, we don't know about all these media takes from these public broadcasters. They all have their own figures, and there is no public currency available. And this makes it difficult to actually measure the size of the market itself. So from research, we know that this is much increasing. So we conducted a Goldbach CTV study for the last 4 years in a row in the DACH region. And you can see significant growth from the usage of fast TV on CTV. And we can see that people younger than like 35 or 40 use more than half of their time watching streaming services and not linear TV anymore. But in terms of advertising spend, it's like 90% and more still in the linear business and not in the fast business. And this is some kind of disbalance which will change in the next couple of years. It's hard to predict when this is going to happen precisely and to what extent. But this is something which is changing every day. And this is very exciting to watch and to be involved in.
Exciting to be part in a market, but of course it remains challenging, and it's a complex market, as Patrick was saying as well. And as you were adding, there is no single universally accepted currency for the monetization behind the content. Obviously, you're in there to make lives easier for everybody with Goldbach. So what's your recipe for offering a solution to this complexity?
If I would have a solution for that, it would be a rich man. It's obviously not that easy. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how the current linear TV currency was established like in the 1950s or 1960s. I just don't know. But this was also like a long-term process, I would guess. And this will be more or less the same for this CTV. The point on CTV is that there are many players involved. There are very international players involved. There are various different business models involved, like you have pure pay TV, you have this kind of hybrid pay TV, including advertising, like Netflix now started in Germany, like Disney Plus now announced to start. And there are purely free TV or free ad-supported TV programs like Pluto, like TV Plus. All these guys have different business models, actually. And yeah, it's tricky. And
it's different.
Ask me the question again in 2 years. So at this moment, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer on that.
Maybe in 20 years, because then this will be a mature market.
Optimistic.
But if you look at, of course, how things developed on the commercial linear legacy market in the 1970s, 1980s, when the first commercial TV channel started, this was really in Europe national markets where it was easy to establish a currency, whereas we're saying it's a fragmented market with national players, international players, all sorts of business models, and it's hard to unify all that into a single currency. It might never end up as one. Ronnie, you've been long enough in the market with Relax TV. I think you've been one of the first AVOD players. How long has Relax TV been going on?
Well, we started 2020, so
2020.
3 years.
And what's your experience now with monetization and currencies? How do you keep your head above water in this complex market?
So I think, as Florian just said, we are far away from being in a mature market, and one reason for that is, the pain is not big enough yet. So in the US, the networks, they were undergoing the issue of cord cutting, but Europe has always been a free-to-air market. So we have always been used, to advertise and watch advertisement against content. So when we and we are in 27 countries, and in some of the countries it goes very well, and also the content acquisition goes really well. While that in Europe, you have to be really patient because when you talk to potential partners, many of them, they are still in these old models of MG. This MG model does not work in the fast world, because I don't believe, unless you have big marketing budgets, you will ever be able, to have a return on investment on those, or it's very difficult or high risk. And on the other hand, in Europe, many people still believe, that they can live in silos and have their own service and only have their channels in their own apps, and then they think they're going to be successful with that and a 2% market share. So as Florian already said, we are not talking about national distribution, we are talking about global distribution, because we as Relax, we have to find our place next to companies like Disney, Netflix, A&E, or Paramount, while Paramount used to be something from the US and maybe RTL had a license for Paramount content, all of a sudden, they are direct to consumer, such as Relax TV is. So yes, the European market is still far, far away from the dynamics that we see in the US.
So, but you've just mentioned this high competition, but how do you differentiate Relax TV from the competitors? Is it the content, the exclusive or original content? Is it the user experience that's better on your content?
Well, first of all, our user experience is great. No, so we try to concentrate on certain kind of contents, but I believe long term, it's not a question about a service or the content. Content will always go everywhere, because even a big content house, they cannot allow themselves long-term to only have one distribution channel. That's one thing. On the other thing, I think the combination of success for us as Relax and with our mother season is the combination of owning the operating system and providing AVOD fast services, because only like this we can make sure that our proposition is always on the first place to the end consumer, like Samsung is doing it with Samsung TV Plus, like Google is doing it with YouTube, and how Amazon is doing it with Prime Freeview. So there is going to be a concentration on a combination of a platform and viewing time monetization services, and I think only this combination will be able to survive long term.
So that is like the joker you have on your hand, your own smart TV operating system, which makes sure that Relax TV is, of course, always in a prominent position. Of course, why not? It's your OS. But Patrick, you don't have that. You just have the content. Of course, great and exclusive original content with partners. What's your experience with moving in the fast landscape? Is it really the content that counts, and what's the consumer looking for? What does make you special and differentiate yourself from others?
Well, we are specialized in the factual category, and I think we know this field pretty well. So we can just tell by experience from exposing our content on other media which genres rate. I mean, you can imagine that, for example, wildlife shows rate quite well with a general audience, whereas if it becomes too specific, you have a very niche audience, and you just need to be prepared for that. At the moment, we try to reach as many people with our fast channels as we can, just to gather as much experience as we can get hold of. And we do have made the experience that we see the same patterns of usage that we know from other TV media. Our wildlife channel internationally and nationally is the most successful one, followed by history. Somehow people still associate Germany with history, even internationally. And the Nazis are not dead on history television. I can tell you that. We still have a lot of Second World War shows that rate quite well, even on fast. So we got the impression, generally speaking, that the same genres that we know work on regular linear television also work on fast. I would think that over time one can see how reliable that is, but for the time being, if I go fast, I would not go too specific. I don't think, for example, a fishing channel in Germany would rate very well on fast, because it's just too niche for the kind of environment that we're moving in.
Well, colleagues from HiView have just launched a fishing channel, Just Fishing, from HiView on Astra, I think, on the satellite and on fast, but that is part of gaining experiences and seeing what works and what doesn't work. It's a fast changing environment we're in. Just an add-on question for you, Patrick. Like, say you've got great piece of content that was licensed to you. What makes the decision then I'll put this on SWOT, I'll put this on FAST, or I'll put it on linear TV? How do you decide? Because you've got all these options. You're on Samsung TV Plus, for example.
Very good question. That allows me to just quickly explain a very simple logic. We always look at content having a certain life cycle. And there are certain stages of where that content is being exposed to an audience at which point in time. And you typically begin exposing the content to a pay TV medium that people pay per subscription for, whether it's SVOD non-linear or whether it's a linear pay TV channel. The next stage in the cycle is free TV as we know it. That can be just a licensed, financed program like a public broadcaster, for example. Then you go into a second cycle on that free TV, somebody who proved to be successful with that program on their channel, they want it again. And only after that, you would go into FAST at the moment, simply because nobody knows whether you can actually monetize your content on FAST. So it's really, at the moment, at the very end of the food chain. We wanted to come much further into the front of the food chain one day, because at the end of the day, any medium that works long time needs to be able to finance the generation, the production of content. If no new content is being produced in the long run by the money that fast businesses make, it will remain a pariah amongst the media. It would basically be something like the dumping ground for program that's no longer being used, which would be a real pity. It should have a sparkle, it should offer something innovative, it should offer programs which are special. And we can only produce those programs if the monetization of power of FAST becomes strong enough.
Okay, so FAST is at the end of the chain at the moment, but this might change. Ronnie, you raised your hand earlier on. You wanted to say something about the fishing channel or something else?
I think it's a nice example, because I think actually that's the beauty about this whole FAST industry, that we are able to really customize channels to people and to special interests. And yes, I agree. You might not have a huge monetization on the fishing channel, but you have a very, very clear target group. And that's something you can monetize really well. And I think there is a lot of people outside that are interested, and that is the beauty compared to the linear TV world, because in a linear TV world, you have to, to rent a transponder from SES Astra to provide a channel. So the monetization barrier to make it, profitable was very much higher. While on a fast channel, compared to that cost, is so much lower that you can actually allow yourself for quite a small niche, to make a program. If it's all automatic.
What's the most popular channel on Nextv at the moment? Don't say it's the fishing channel.
I think that is actually. I think we just launched Relax Fishing this week. Actually,
You did.
Oh.
And HiFi also launched the fishing channel, I think with Goldbach being advertising sales, but that's Goldbach Germany. So we're probably having to ask the German department. But let's talk about, Florian, about monetization. And there's been quite an interesting change in the market recently. I think Netflix, Disney, they've all started now to have a second model, which is kind of between AVOD and SVOD, that is advertising co-financed SVOD. So it's still, you have to pay for the content, but at a reduced level, and you have to accept advertising. Florian, do you think that's something that's there to stay, or is it just born out of the problem of the current, the economy, recession hitting people's pockets?
No, I'm sure this is going to stay. So obviously it's like a third business model. One is the pure pay, one is the pure free, and one is the one in the middle. So, and it does make sense. So if you have in mind that people like spend on €4, €5 on this service, and private households, and €10 on this service, and €10 on that service, after all, you're spending like €30 or €40 per month for whatever kind of media services, excluding the broadband connection you also need to pay for. So all in all, people don't have so much money as the operators or the content houses would like them to spend. So what's the solution to that? Add advertising to it and make it cheaper for one as an idea. And obviously, Netflix is going to go this road. Disney Plus is also has announced to do so. So, I mean, Sky has been doing advertising on their sport feeds since ages, actually. So, and the difference between pay including advertising versus free TV or free fast, whatever, is the amount, the pure amount. So if you have like 2 advertising spots within an hour or within every 30 minutes, maybe, it's a different experience from a consumer point of view than if you have like 4 minutes ad block every 20 minutes. And this is the difference between the two. So if you're ready to pay like a couple of euro per month, then you get less advertising. And if you are not ready to pay, then you get more advertising. And yeah, that's actually the simple fact on that. And actually, to be what the success for Netflix and Disney Plus is going to be at the end of the day, it's too early to say. I would say, I mean, I have no idea what the situation in the US is in terms of their business models, to which extent they can achieve their business cases, and they obviously won't tell the public. So I don't know. From the European perspective, it's too early to say because they just started a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what also is quite interesting to see is that because Netflix, they want to stop this account sharing. I've not seen this in Austria yet, so I'm waiting for this to come. As I said at the very beginning of this session, it's a very dynamic, and there may be a different situation like in 12 months from now.
Do you think that advertising supported SVOD could endanger the big growth rate that we're experiencing with FAST now? Could that be a risk for FAST?
At the end of the day, it's a question of marketing. It's a question of brands. I mean, if you have a strong, fast brand like Pluto TV, like TV Plus, like Rakuten TV, and more of them, it will also work out. If you have a strong pay TV brand like Netflix, maybe the strongest pay TV brand worldwide, then it's also going to work out. And if you have content but no brand how to distribute it, then you need to find a way to the solution for that. And this is maybe the challenge for the content providing industry.
So it remains a challenging market because it remains an ever-changing market. There's new business models coming along now with advertising-supported SVOD, and we'll see what happens to FAST. FAST keeps growing, of course. We've got new players like Patrick entering now the market. We've got more established players like Relax. But let's take a step backwards to look at the device market, because that is really the prerequisite. The smart TV growth is really where it all started. People started hooking up their TV set with the internet, and then they got all sorts of new content. It started with the Netflix app, the Amazon app, the Disney Plus app. Then came the FAST channels, the streaming services. You mentioned a few studies early on. Do you have some market figures on how far the market has developed now with smart TV, at least in German-speaking markets? How many TVs are smart TVs, and how many of them are actually connected to the internet?
Yeah, I hope I get the figures right from the top of my head now. So we have conducted this study like I think 4 years in a row now, where you really can see a development all across the DACH countries. So what we see is like more than 70% now of the homes do have a smart TV, and the smart TV by nature is a TV set which is also connected to the internet. In theory, in practice, like 90% is already connected to the internet. This was very different like 10 years ago. People had smart TVs at their home, but they were not connected to the internet, so they were not so smart as the industry meant them to be. So nowadays, like as I said, 90% of the TV sets are connected, and 80% of people are aware of CTV or advanced TV or whatever you call this fancy stuff. So people are aware of that and are more and more getting aware of what they can do with their TV set. So very important is the navigation of this tool, because the home screen of the TV set, which is most of the times owned by the manufacturer, this is where people start switching on the TV set and where they start their TV experience, where they start launching their app, be it Netflix, be it Pluto, be it whatever. They launch it from the home screen. So the home screen is very important to consumers and, of course, to the industry, be it the content and also for the advertising.
I think that's the new battlefield for the advertising, the home screen, the first screen that comes when you switch on the TV.
Yeah, and as I said before, the younger generation, like younger than 40 years or younger than 35, they do use like more than 50% of their media consumption already on streaming services versus the so-called linear TV. And this is what is going to continue this trend, I would say. So this using the amount of using streaming services is going to grow over time, and the linear TV is going to remain with a kind of older generation. I think this is what we see.
Coming from an advertising sales house, of course, with more and more being based on advertising, more and more content being available free or at low cost, even premium brands like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime. Do you think that one day there could be something like advertising fatigue, where you just don't want to see any more ads, you don't want to see any more interruptions to especially quality content, and you're going back to pay TV, you're going back to SVOD, real SVOD, premium SVOD? Could that happen?
I don't think so, no. I mean, people have been used to advertising since private TV started back in the 80s, and this is absolutely common behavior, watching advertising if you want to be entertained by whatever kind of program, be it fictional or live sports, or be it, I don't know, TV shows. So people are used to that, and I don't think it's a matter of that the young generation doesn't want to see advertising and therefore move from linear TV to fast. It's more convenient, it's easier to handle, it's a wider range of content where you can choose from. It's not the fact that it's less advertising in fast than in linear TV, if this is the case at all. I mean, depending on whether you have a pay TV model, or whether you have a hybrid model, or whether you have a free model, the amount of advertising is different from here to there. And it's also from the advertising perspective, the fact that you can do a much more precise targeting on CTV, on fast TV, whether on the linear. So this is easy. You can have the same advertising impact and effect by doing less advertising, but to have a more precise targeting.
Yeah.
So I don't think there will be kind of an advertising overkill or something, no.
It's not so much always the amount of viewers you're reaching. You have to reach the right viewers.
The
quality of the audience, and not so much the quantity.
Yeah.
And it's with targeted advertising, addressable TV, these kind of things you can do with CTV, and that are hard to achieve on classic linear TV, of course. So the market is getting more fragmented, but you might be able to reach the right audiences for your commercials. We have a couple of minutes left, so there's Q&A at the end as usual. So if you have a question for the panelists, please do raise your hand. There's a question right here in the middle. Is there a microphone for the lady? Otherwise, maybe just stand up and ask your question. Oh, there's a microphone coming. Maybe quickly your name and your company and your question.
Hi, I'm Deborah from Video Elephant. I'm just wondering, do you think there's an appetite for English language fast channels, or is the interest still just in local language fast channels?
Maybe Patrick.
We asked ourselves the same question because we are partnering with Curiosity Stream from the United States, and it would have been so nice to just take their product and implement it in Germany. It would not have been nice, but it would have been much, much cheaper. But the audience is absolutely not ready for it. There's only a minute portion of the German audience that would consume English-speaking programs. I don't see that coming for a long, long time.
The Germans are used to dubbing, as opposed to Scandinavia or the Nordic countries, even Netherlands. They're used to subtitles with the original language. That's why all the kids at school don't have problem learning English, because they just know that from the kids' TV programs. But in Germany, they all have to learn it the hard way in the school. So maybe way of rethinking for the next couple of generations. But the market fact is that still the Germans are used to dubbing. So there's not much room for original English language content. There's room for one question, though. Is there anyone who'd like to pose a question to the audience? To the panelists from the audience. Otherwise, I'll do a last wrap-up question. Fast channels, Patrick, do we see or will we see originals produced for fast channels one day? Because at the moment it's all premium and all on pay TV and SVOD. The first fast originals, do you see that coming in a couple of years?
I think so, because ultimately what you want is an audience that comes back to your channel. And you can only find a loyal audience if you can offer them something unique at some point in time. So the quick answer is yes.
Okay, the question is, but when? So we need a couple of more panels to discuss that. Florian, the future of fun, what do you, fast, but it's fun still to be in that market. What do you think, where will we be in a couple of years, 5 years from now on, in the fast?
I think fast is going to grow again, and that there will be the big brands will also be dominating the fast area as well as they dominate the linear TV. So the example is Paramount. They have linear TV programs as well as Bluetooth TV, and the RTL have their free TV stream programs, and they operate RTL Plus. And there are more examples to that. So I mean, the big brands will be in the old world and they will be in the new world. And of course, fast is going to grow. What I would not dare to predict what's going to happen to linear TV and when. So it's maybe a matter of 10 years, maybe a matter of 20 years. But yeah, but fast is has come to stay, and all the various kinds of fast or CTV or advanced TV or SVOD or TVOD or AVOD or all this, let's call it advanced TV. This has come to stay. Definitely.
Advanced TV and fast have come to stay. Yep. Ronnie, you have the last word. Fast in 5 years, where will we be?
So I think fast is a superior model in that sense, because from targeting, from the experience, and I believe we will see a huge change in the next 5 years about owning platforms, owning living rooms. I think local broadcasters, they will be challenged. It's going to be a big challenge for them, to find their position long term. So it's going to be interesting.
So fast will become even more competitive, and it'll certainly stay an interesting market. Thank you very much to the panelists, and thank you for your time. Let's move on.